More often than not, it's the performer that fails the industry, not the other way around. But once in every generation, there comes around an artist who's not only extraordinarily talented, but also has the personality of a superstar along with unmatched charisma, mind-boggling good looks, and an uncanny lack of controversies who's never able to reach the pinnacle because of a multitude of reasons outside of their own control. The first name that came to mind when I said all of that was Henry Cavill. Make no mistake about it, this man is still a global superstar and is loved by millions for his charming boy next door personality, his Greek goddesque looks, an unwavering love for fiction, and true to source material storytelling and gaming, all of which are only a few among the 10,000 other great qualities he seems to have. But I still firmly believe that Cavill has still not reached the true megastar status, which he definitely has the potential for. Because he isn't a wannabe bodybuilder pretending to be an actor, he's an artist who's always stayed true to the art of cinema. And despite that, due to a myriad of reasons, Cavill seems to be going through a streak of bad luck. Henry William Dalglish Cavill. Born into an upper middle class family to Colin and Marianne Cavill, the man had no connections to Hollywood, and despite being relatively well off during his childhood days, the struggle was real. Henry was a chubby looking dude in his teens, so much so that he was nicknamed Fat Cavill and was also bullied heavily by other boys in the boarding school he studied in. It would have seemed impossible if someone showed you this boy and said that he would be Superman one day, but Henry did it. I'm not saying he looked ugly or anything as such. He was a fine looking boy, but his transformation is truly one to marvel at. From a totally average overweight boy to probably the most handsome man on the planet, well, that's a testament to his willpower and work ethic. But good looks alone don't get you far in Hollywood, and Henry was never the tried to be a model but became an actor instead because I got a chance type of a guy. No. Acting was his first love, the career he chose and made a name for himself in, and he found his calling with an unusual twist of fate. During the shooting of Proof of Life in the year 2000, Henry had a brief encounter with Russell Crowe where he told him about his aspirations of one day being a leading man in Hollywood. And Crowe was generous enough to encourage Henry take a picture with the starstruck kid, and behind the photograph he wrote, "The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. For anyone who's having a bad day, there's your little bite of wisdom, my friends." And in his own words, that one incident really changed Cavill's life. Because just 1 year later, he made his acting debut in a small budgeted HBO film named Vendetta, where he played a forgettable side character. Then came the low budget film Laguna, but this time around, Henry was playing the lead role. Both films were critical and commercial failures, but Cavill had gained confidence that he too can become an actor, which is when he dropped the idea of becoming a historian. Yup, the man was fascinated with ancient Egypt and had apparently seriously considered taking Egyptology at university. But he truly cemented the idea of becoming a full-time actor another year later in 2002, where he lost 21 pounds to prepare for the role of Albert Mondigo in the film Count of Monte Cristo, which had established Hollywood names like Guy Pearce and Jim Caviezel in the lead roles. This wasn't exactly a breakout role for Henry, but it definitely put him on the map. And after this came a long list of mediocre films and television projects, where Henry mostly starred in supporting roles, for which he got little to no recognition, but he kept his career alive despite losing big-time roles like that of James Bond, Edward Cullen, and Cedric Diggory, two of which went to Robert Pattinson. Well, I guess Batman does beat Superman every time. But despite the setbacks, he kept auditioning for lead roles, and he landed his first big one as Theseus in the film Immortals, where he played a Greek hero. Pretty fitting if you ask me, because to portray that role, Cavill got into tremendous shape, almost like a Greek sculpture. And add to that his spellbinding, near-perfect facial features, and you get quintessential superstar material. Although the film itself had somewhat of a lukewarm reception, Henry Cavill got rave reviews for his performance and screen presence, and Hollywood was put on notice. The journey he's been on since then is one that most people know of. The iconic role of Superman in Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice, and Justice League, his brief but much beloved stint as Geralt of Rivia in the Witcher series, and his memorable roles in Mission Impossible Fallout and Enola Holmes. And despite all the success he's had in the aforementioned roles, it's as if there's an unseen force that's preventing him from making it truly big, because since 2006 he's lost the role of James Bond at least least twice. Once because he was too young, and the second time because he was too old. Do the casting agents even know the goddamn source material? He's also more recently lost his Superman role to David Corenswet after James Gunn took the reins in 2022, and also he's voluntarily walked out of Witcher citing creative differences. Some say it's the Superman curse that's haunting Cavill and his career. Others seem to think it's simply a wrong place at the wrong time scenario, because it's definitely not a work ethic issue, a case of ruined public image, a bad attitude, failing popularity, or terrible box office numbers. So what in fact is the case? Let's start from his true breakout role in Man of Steel. Good or bad, the film is timelessly polarizing, because even though it's been 12 years since it released, the film is still being talked about and discussed heavily among the fans, many of who, including yours truly, still consider Henry's portrayal to be the best. He brought about a totally different and more mature quality to the role of Superman, not a dark one as some people like to say, but a realistic one rather. And love it or hate it, it's still in the hearts of fans and the minds of haters, which is rare. I agree that the polarity definitely did hurt his career somewhat, as a lot of people didn't like the tone and the storytelling of Zack Snyder's projects, but Henry's sincerity to the role is something that seems to be universally appreciated and still worth remembering to this day, where the genre itself seems to have become irrelevant because Hollywood seems to be releasing a comic book based project every other week, which fewer and fewer people seem to be tuning into. Think about it, we're witnessing a summer when two pretty good superhero films came out, one of which starred Superman of all characters, and it looks like they might just go past the $1 billion mark collectively. But Man of Steel, and Henry's portrayal especially, has definitely stood the test of time. And then comes the Bond fiasco, which throws light at the fact that the Hollywood executives just don't seem to like Henry. I say that because there couldn't be a better fit for the role of James Bond than Henry Cavill. And yet, they keep giving all kinds of weird and stupid reasons to not cast the man. I mean, think about it. In Ian Fleming's novels, Bond stated to be in his late 30s, and Cavill is only a nudge past that because he's just 42. So he fits the age bracket perfectly, and it also means he's very much in his prime. On top of that, he's a full-blooded Britisher, which checks one more box, and before anyone brings up Regé-Jean Page or Tom Holland, just don't. Because not a single fan of the character wants Ray Swap 007 or James Bond Jr. for that matter. Swaying away from the source material would just be catastrophic, especially for this franchise. And even though Aaron Taylor-Johnson would make a good Bond, Henry seems like he was tailor-made for the role. And then comes the worst of the lot, Cavill's Witcher exit. Once again, he fought for what's right, which is sticking to source material. The creators of Netflix Witcher series were adamant on molding the character according to their own whims and wishes, something that Cavill was totally against, and why wouldn't he be? From the reports I saw, it seems like Henry was the only one who had actually read the books before production started. And the story that the writers wanted to tell, I don't know how else to say it, because it was just stupid, as it had very little to do with the actual Witcher series. And once again, he lost a role, one that he owned and made iconic. And from what I can see, nobody is even remotely interested in Liam Hemsworth's version, no offense to him, but it just doesn't feel like it's worth it anymore. So here's the revelation that I had. Henry Cavill just isn't woke or obedient enough for Hollywood. First off, he's a guy that hasn't played an explicitly LGBTQ character throughout his entire career, which I'm not saying is a good or bad thing, I'm just stating a fact. He also seems to have avoided partaking in any of Hollywood's humiliation rituals, which usually entails a plethora of A-list roles. Also, he's a proper family man who keeps away from all the identity politics and diplomatic drama, while also having zero controversies in regards to his personal or professional life, and it looks like he's just focused on his goddamn job. And on top of that, Henry's a man who clearly respects the literature and source material and wants to do justice to the vision of the author, and is clearly willing to walk away if there are any attempts of f***ing with the authenticity of the original text. I mean, not everyone is Pedro Pascal. A man of respect and honor in Hollywood just doesn't seem right, does it? Which is why it seems like they're trying to get rid of him, at least from mainstream films. Well, try as they might, Henry Cavill has already made a lasting impact on the hearts and minds of fans, and despite the fact that he's losing roles faster than girls losing their virginity in LA, this guy will forever be a Superman in real life and an inspiration to millions. That's it for today, folks. I'm gonna go eat a bowl of cereal.